Welcome to Honeybee. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell. Real stories of love, lies, and betrayal, where every truth stings. Let's begin. My name is Robert, and this is the story of how I uncovered the truth about my wife, Gabrielle, and how I finally took control of my own life. I never imagined I'd ever have to share something like this, but here I am, putting it all out there. I know I'm not the only one who's been through something like this, and maybe my story will help someone else. I believed in my marriage. I trusted the woman I married. For 9 years, I thought we had built something unshakable, a partnership that would last forever. But life has a cruel way of pulling the rug out from under you when you least expect it. After nearly a decade together, I thought I knew Gabrielle completely. One thing she always loved was a thoughtful surprise. The small details mattered to her, and over the years, I'd learned what made her smile, what lit up her face. So for her birthday, I decided to do something extra special. Not just a fancy dinner, but an experience. I took the day off work and even hired a private chef to cook a beautiful meal in our home. While the chef worked his magic in the kitchen, I carefully set up the dining area. I wanted this night to feel different, romantic, intimate, unforgettable. Everything was perfect. I could already imagine her reaction. The way her face would glow when she walked in, how she'd breathe in the scent of food, and then look at me with that expression that said, "You really did all this just for me?" I checked the clock. She was supposed to be home in an hour. Everything was ready. But what I didn't know was that my perfectly planned surprise was about to become the worst night of my life. An hour passed. Gabrielle still wasn't home. That was unusual. She was almost always back by 6:30, maybe 7 o'clock at the latest. I thought about calling her, but that would ruin the surprise. Instead, I decided to check her location. Gabrielle and I had shared our phone location for years, ever since early in our marriage, just for safety. But when I checked, she wasn't at her office. Her phone was pinging from a restaurant downtown. At first, I thought maybe her colleagues had surprised her, or maybe she'd gone out with a friend. But I had to be sure. I didn't want her eating too much and missing out on the meal I had prepared for her. I took a breath and called her. The phone rang twice before she answered. "Hey, babe," she said casually, her voice calm, almost distracted. "Hey, you on your way home?" I asked lightly. There was a short pause, and then she sighed. "Ugh, not yet. Work is crazy tonight. I'm buried in reports, and it looks like I'll be stuck here late." My heart sank. She was lying. I was staring right at her location. She wasn't at the office. She was sitting in a restaurant, having dinner with someone. I forced a small laugh and said, "No problem. I'll see you later." The second I hung up, I just stood there numb, a storm of thoughts racing through my mind. What do I do? Do I believe her and stay home? Or do I go find out the truth with my own eyes? Every part of me wanted to believe this was just a misunderstanding, that she'd call me any second, tell me she was leaving work, and head home. But that call never came. So I grabbed my keys and drove to the restaurant. The drive felt endless, even though it was only a few miles. My mind wouldn't stop running through every possibility. When I got there, it didn't take long to find her. Through the large windows, I saw Gabrielle sitting at a small, intimate table for two. She wasn't alone. Across from her, leaning in close and laughing with her, was a man I recognized immediately. Her colleague, the one she had introduced me to at a company event months ago. The way they were looking at each other, it didn't look like two co-workers casually sharing a meal. And even if it was just dinner, why would she lie to me? Her office was nowhere near that restaurant. There was no reason for her to be there, not unless she was hiding something. I watched her smile, like she was living out a scene from a romantic film. I needed one last piece of proof. I pulled out my phone and called her again from where I stood, hidden in the shadows. Her phone lit up on the table. She glanced at it and, for one foolish second, I hoped she'd pick up. She didn't. She silenced the call, flipped her phone face down, and turned back to him, as if my call was nothing but an interruption to her evening. Something inside me broke. I didn't storm inside. I didn't yell. I didn't make a scene. I just raised my phone, quietly took a few pictures, and walked back to my car. I drove home in silence, numb, empty, shattered. I don't even remember how long I sat there in the dark living room, staring at nothing. I was angry, but mostly I felt lost. Do I confront her? Do I pretend I never saw it? I needed advice, so I called Daniel, my best friend since college. He's the one person who never sugarcoats anything. The moment he answered, he knew something was wrong. "Rob, what's going on?" he asked. I hesitated. Then everything just poured out. He was quiet for a moment before sighing. "Man, I hate to say this, but it's not looking good," he said. "You can't just sit on this. You need to know exactly what's going on before you make a move. What if this has been happening for a long time? What if there's more to it than just one dinner?" I rubbed my face, exhausted. "So what do I do?" "You hire a private investigator," he said firmly. "Get the full truth. Then when you confront her, you'll have undeniable proof. No room for lies or excuses." When Gabrielle finally came home that night, it was past 10 p.m. I just sat there, staring at the untouched dinner on the table. The candles had burned down, casting long shadows across the cold food I'd spent all day preparing. I had imagined this night so differently. She stepped inside, sighed heavily, and dropped her bag by the door. She ran a hand through her hair, looking tired, then met my eyes with what looked like practiced guilt. "Babe, I'm so sorry," she said softly. "Work was a nightmare. The deadline got moved up. I had no choice but to stay. I hated missing tonight." I just listened, watching her. It was flawless. The performance, the tone, the fake remorse. I nodded, swallowing my anger. "It's okay," I said calmly. "I know work gets hectic." She walked over and kissed my cheek. I wanted to pull away, but I didn't. Instead, I forced a smile and told her I had saved some food if she wanted it. She shook her head, too tired to eat. Another lie. That night, as she slept peacefully next to me, I made arrangements to meet with a private investigator the next day. If my marriage was already broken, I needed to know exactly how bad it was. The next month was hell. I had to wake up next to her every morning, eat breakfast with her, listen to her talk about her day, all while pretending I didn't know she was sneaking around with another man. The PI worked quickly. Within 2 weeks, he had already gathered plenty of evidence. Photos, videos, timestamps. Gabrielle wasn't just meeting him at hotels. They met at cafes, bars, restaurants, even parked in her car for hours. It was a routine. And then came the final blow. The man she was seeing was married too. His wife had no idea. 2 people betraying their partners, lying to the ones who loved them most. By the time the PI handed me the final report, I had everything I needed. Photos, recordings, times, locations. Undeniable proof. I could have destroyed them both, ruined their careers, their reputations, their lives. But I didn't. Gabrielle wasn't just any employee at her company. She was respected, high-ranking. If word got out that she had an affair with a subordinate, a married one, it wouldn't just be a scandal. It would destroy her career completely. I wasn't looking for revenge. I wanted control. I wanted to walk away clean on my terms. No court battles, no drama, no false accusations. The evidence was my leverage. If Gabrielle refused to cooperate, I'd make sure every single piece of evidence landed in the right hands. That night, she came home late again. Same excuses, same routine. "You wouldn't believe the day I had," she said, setting her bag on the counter. I was drowning in work. I didn't answer right away. This time, I let the silence speak for me. Then I finally said, calm and steady, "We don't have to keep living a lie." I slid a folder across the table toward her, along with a stack of papers. Divorce documents already filled out. Her face shifted, confusion melting into fear. What is this?" she asked. "These are your choices," I said evenly. "Sign the divorce papers and walk away quietly. Or," I tapped the folder, "this goes to HR, your colleagues, and your lover's wife." Her face went pale. She didn't even open the folder. She knew exactly what was inside. She backed up slightly, shaking her head. "Robert, no, it's not what you think. Please, just let me explain." I stayed silent. I'd heard enough lies. Her hands trembled as she finally opened the folder. The photos, the proof, all of it staring back at her. The tears came fast. It was a mistake, she cried. A stupid mistake. It didn't mean anything. I never planned to replace you. I still love you, I swear. I let out a slow breath. It was almost laughable how predictable this was. She stepped closer, reaching for my hands. Please, Robert, we can fix this. I'll end it. I'll do whatever it takes. Just don't do this. I pulled my hands away. This isn't about love, Gabriel. I said coldly. It's about respect. And you lost mine a long time ago. She hesitated, her eyes darting between me and the divorce papers. She wasn't scared of losing me. She was scared of losing her career, her reputation, her perfect image. Sign them, I said firmly, or we do this the hard way. Her lips trembled like she wanted to argue, but she didn't. With shaking hands, she picked up the pen and signed. When she was done, she looked at me one last time. You promise you won't send this to anyone? She asked quietly. As long as you don't make this messy. I replied. She nodded, though I could see her debating whether to believe me. But she had no choice. She had played her hand and lost. And just like that, it was over. The woman I once planned to spend my life was now just another closed chapter. She couldn't play the victim, couldn't paint me as the bad guy, couldn't twist the story. And that, losing control of the narrative, was what hurt her the most. She wiped her tears and asked, "What do I tell people?" I shrugged. That's your problem. She frowned, probably expecting me to give her a neat excuse like, we just grew apart. But I wasn't going to make this easier for her. She had to find a way to explain why her perfect marriage fell apart overnight, without admitting the truth. And she knew she couldn't smear my name either, because if she did, I had proof that would shut her down immediately. Looking back now, I see